Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, it was just kind of a dud last night. Let's talk about it. The Dodgers only had 4 hits. They only had 1 RBI, and it was kind of like one of those games in football where you have a team that's probably superior to the other, and it just seems like they're running the ball up the middle all game long because they feel like, hey, if we just don't make mistakes, we're good enough. We have enough talent to where the other team will eventually beat them as the game goes on. It kind of felt like that was the game last night for the Dodgers, and hey, they did take the lead in the extra innings on the Will Smith sacrifice fly. But my man Nabil Crismatt, who was throwing some changeups, hung a changeup, and Christian Walker, the Dodger killer, hit his second home run of the night and gave the Arizona Diamondbacks the walk-off. So, yeah, that was frustrating. It was just a game that, simply put, was a dud when you only had, really the Arizona Diamondbacks gave the Dodgers everything they got. We're talking about walks and a wild pitch and balks and all that. The Dodgers only had 1 RBI on the night. The lineup, simply put, really kind of was a head scratcher in a lot of ways. So it was just an odd night. Then you had the delay for the Bees. It was just kind of one of those weird nights. It felt like there was kind of a Bermuda Triangle around the game, if you will. But the good part about it, Landon Knack. Landon Knack was very good, and then Michael Grove came in behind him. We always talk about, at least here on Dodgers Daily, how we feel like Michael Grove should be a reliever, and then not just a reliever, but a 1-inning reliever. I think that maximizes what he can do for the team. Obviously, Michael Grove's inning wasn't, it was bumpy, but he got through it scoreless, and that's the only thing that matters. But let's talk about Landon Knack. Definitely the bright spot of the evening, if not Andy Pages. Andy Pages had another really nice hit, this time on a slider. So there's all sorts of these things that Andy Pages is doing right now that shows you that he has a plan and he's able to execute a plan. We've always talked about he wants to hit fastballs. Whatever he has to do to get back into a fastball count, that's what he's been doing. I thought it was a very positive sign last night that he actually hit a slider for his hit last night. So Andy Pages continuing to do one thing after the other just to show how legit he is and to show his ability, again, to have a plan. And what that does for you, it really makes you feel like the adjustments that he needs to make will be easier for him because he does have that plan and the ability to execute it. So he was a positive last night, but I do think the biggest positive, no doubt, was Landon Knack. If you've been following Dodgers Daily at all, you know that Landon Knack, out of all of the young pitchers, is probably the most skilled pitcher in terms of throwing strikes with 4 different pitches, locating, moving the ball, creating soft contact, and being efficient. Now remember, last year he was the only pitcher for AAA Oklahoma City to go 7 innings. So this is a guy that can eat innings because instead of being explosive, now he can be explosive. He can run the ball up there 96 miles an hour whenever his arm is exactly healthy, right? So it's not like he doesn't have a good fastball. It's not like he can't be explosive. But that's just not necessarily what makes him great. What makes him great, we talked about the last time out. I didn't think we saw the absolute best version of Landon Knack, although I thought he was good. I thought last night was exactly what you're going to get from Landon Knack as a major league pitcher. I was very proud of the way he threw. And another thing is, when I say that, just everything that makes Landon Knack good happened last night. First of all, I know he throws his fastball and his slider the most, but I've said it many times, in my opinion, for Landon Knack to have consistent success throughout an outing, I think his changeup is the key, because that changeup, when he's landing it, is very good, and it puts that thing in the back of those hitters' minds, knowing that, hey, man, I'm not sure I can hit this changeup, and he's throwing it for a strike. So they have to think about that while they're trying to hit his fastball that is getting spotted up very well, while they're trying to hit his slider that is located to that glove side corner, which is outside to a righty, inside to a lefty. And Landon Knack last night landed his changeup 5 times in a row to start the game, including the second pitch of the game. So Landon Knack's first 5 changeups and 6 out of his first 7 were thrown for a strike. That planted a seed with hitters. That changeup makes his fastball look that much faster. He tunnels it off of his fastball, so it comes out of the same location. So hitters are seeing the fastball and changeup come out of the same location, and then they don't identify spin because that changeup doesn't really have any identifiable spin that would let the hitter know, hey, is this a fastball or a changeup? So that is a big pitch for him because it plays so well off of his fastball. Then he can turn that slider to the left. He just does a great job, again, locating that thing to the periphery of the strike zone. So I thought Landon Knack last night was exactly what you're going to get as far as a good version of a major league hitter getting outs. And another thing, I was very proud of him. He gave up the home run to Christian Walker, and he got the ball up in the zone. That's going to happen to Landon Knack from time to time. He's going to be hittable from time to time. He's going to give up hits, and sometimes he's going to give up runs, but he's going to be efficient. He's going to eat up innings, and when you look at the totality of what he does, it's going to be very effective. So he gives up the home run, and then he gets behind the count to the next hitter, 2-0, and he comes right back into the strike zone and gets an out after that. I thought that showed maturity. I thought that showed confidence. He didn't spook away from saying, ooh, I got hit. Now I need to be perfect with all of my pitches. We see that a lot with young guys. Ryan Pepio did that a lot when he first came up to the major leagues, and it's very easy to do. Landon Knack showed a lot of maturity, just went right back to doing what he does, nailed a fastball on the lower quadrant of the zone, got back into the count, and eventually got an out. So I thought all things were good for Landon Knack last night, and I thought he definitely was the bright spot. But again, just kind of a game that was a Bermuda Triangle game, not really a whole lot to chew on, not really a whole lot to talk about as far as a great night or anything. Only 4 hits, only 1 RBI. Most of everything, again, that you got was given to you by the D-backs. And then you get walked off. Nabil Crismatt, my man. I love Nabil Crismatt. I got a chance to talk to him. That interview is on our YouTube page here. He talked all about his journey to get to the Dodgers. He was with the D-backs last year, been with the Padres, been a little bit of everywhere, and he's from Colombia. It started back in 2011, so check out that interview. Heavy on the changeup, hung a changeup up in the zone to Christian Walker, and that was all she wrote. So I hated to see that for my man Nabil Crismatt because he is a great dude, and he has been a good pickup so far for the Dodgers. But it is what it is. Hey, you're not going to win every game in the game of baseball, so you just move on and you play the next day. The Dodgers, the final game of their road swing tonight with Arizona, the rubber match of that game. But hey, let's back up to Monday night's game. Haven't talked to you since then, so we have 2 games to cover on this show. Got last night's game in. By the way, I stayed up to watch every single out of that. Of course, you had the delay to the Bees, so my time when it ended was 1:30 in the morning, and I was glued to it. I just couldn't get away from it because it was like, who's going to win this game? Actually, I think more accurately, it was more like, who's going to lose this game? I think a team lost last night versus a team winning because it just was not a good Major League Baseball game in any way, shape, or form. But the opposite of that definitely was Monday night. Monday night was the opposite offensive game where you had as many walks as you did strikeouts. Anytime the Dodgers have as many walks as they do strikeouts like they did Monday, it's going to be a good night. And the Dodgers had almost as many RBIs as they did strikeouts as well. Earlier in the year, the Dodgers were striking out a lot. They haven't been striking out as much lately. That has led to this winning streak. When the Dodgers are putting the ball in play, they have a bunch of dudes that hit the ball hard. So the more balls that they get fair in play, the more balls that are going to have a chance to leave the yard, become base hits because they hit the ball very hard. So the Dodgers did a great job of getting the ball in play, getting as many hits. And another thing is, home runs are great. Only thing better than a solo home run is a 2-run home run, right? That walk right in front of it. So the Dodgers drawing 8 walks. That's a big part of their offense for the Dodgers to be good, and they did that definitely on Monday night. They scored in 4 different innings. They hung 2 crooked numbers on the board. And the fifth inning was a clinic we talk about all the time. I like to kind of highlight some different scenarios that go on as far as games inside the games that show the Dodgers have a game plan and then they're able to execute it. That fifth inning was a thing of beauty. Andrew Saalfrank, basically a curveball sinker pitcher, and he does not do a great job of throwing a sinker in the zone for a strike. It's right around 50% of the time. So the Dodgers, number one, they knew they needed to be patient because the way that Andrew Saalfrank gets outs a lot of times is he gets hitters to chase. Well, at that time, of course, Ohtani came up. By the way, Ohtani, my opinion, just a little bit jumpy. He's pulling off the ball just a touch, which isn't allowing him to identify spin. It's not allowing him to let the ball get deep. The adjustment last time was to let the ball get a little bit deeper, think left center. Once he started doing that, then he actually started hitting home runs. So I think Ohtani is a little bit jumpy right now, but he got 3 curveballs and a sinker for a walk. So Ohtani did a good job of knowing the game plan, knowing what pitches not to swing at. And then Freddie Freeman got 2 curveballs, a couple of sinkers, and then all sinkers to Will Smith. Again, a pitch that Saalfrank isn't always in the strike zone with. So the Dodgers knew that, hey, as long as they don't chase the zone, they're going to have success against this guy. As a matter of fact, the sinker and curve are the only 2 pitches that Saalfrank throws, and his curveball's only in the zone about 14% of the time this year in 2024. So the curveball basically was a pitch that the Dodgers eliminated in that 5th inning. And then the sinker is a pitch that he throws for a strike around 47% of the time. So the game plan, basically lay off the curveball, eliminate the curveball, and find your targeting points for that sinker. You know, that sinker turns to the arm side. So wherever that pitch starts, it's going to determine whether that's going to end up as a strike. The Dodgers know the targeting points that eventually end up in the strike zone for Saalfrank, and if he didn't hit those targeting points, lay off of it. And when you're talking about Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, guys that have great discipline at the plate, not only were they able to have that plan, they were able to execute it. And then Andy Pages did a great job. Okay, you have a 5-pitch walk, you have the bases loaded. So Andy Pages knows. He knows for a fact that, hey, with the bases loaded, this guy has to get ahead of the count, right? And then he also knows it's going to have to be with a fastball. So Andy Pages knew within the first couple of pitches in the at-bat, he was going to get a fastball in the zone that he could do damage with. And that's exactly what happened. So another example of Andy Pages paying attention to his environment, paying attention to the game around him, understanding the situation, knowing how the pitcher was going to have to attack him, knowing what to look for, knowing all of that, and then also being able to execute. So, yeah, that was just a great sequence of the Dodgers really just kind of putting a plan together as far as how to get runners on base that led to the 8. That's how you end up with 8 walks, is have a plan, then actually execute it. And that's also how you end up with almost as many RBIs as you do strikeouts, is whenever you have a guy like Andy Pages that after it all really pays it off. I mean, how many times you see a team like walk 2 or 3 times an inning and can't get that hit and only score 1 or 2 runs out of it? So it's really big to actually get that hit to break through that Andy Pages got. So I thought that was a really nice sequence of the Dodgers putting a good plan together, executing it, and then finishing off with Andy Pages. The Dodgers, how about this? They're tied for 10th in the league with runners in scoring position with a .268 average. At least they were coming into last night's game. I did not check after last night's game, so this was coming in to the Tuesday game. 10th in the league with runners in scoring position with a .268 average, and they're 19th in the league with 2 outs. I think the Dodgers are actually going to have to get better as far as hitting with runners in scoring position and 2 outs, because those 2 out base hits are killers for the other team. How about James Paxton? He's quite an enigma, isn't he? I mean, it just seems like he's like Houdini right now. Bottom line is he's your 5th starter. Bottom line is you don't need him to make a start in the playoffs. Bottom line is the Dodgers are going to be able to use this entire season to evaluate whether they can use him in the playoffs in any type of role. Likely, in my opinion, it would probably be a bullpen role. So although it has been ugly, another 4 walks, there's nothing about it that meets the eye, if you will. He still went 5 innings. He still, I talk about it all the time, there's your 4-run magic number. If your starter can just hold the other team to 4 runs, by and large, most nights, this offense is going to be able to cover that. The bullpen, by the way, of course, until last night where Daniel Hudson gave up a run and then Nabil Crismatt gave up the 3 runs. The bullpen had been on I believe it was 23 innings in a row scoreless streak. So this is an offense, again, out of your number 5 starter, if you can get 5 to 6 innings, just 4 runs a game, even though it was really ugly to get to that mark, that's something that's going to be advantageous for the Dodgers. And simply put, James Paxton has to throw more strikes. This can't continue. You would think as the season goes on that if he continues to walk guys like this, he will no longer be able to be Houdini. So I do think he is going to have to become more efficient with his execution as the summer goes on. But bottom line is, I say it all the time, the major leagues is all about results. And for a 5th starter for the Dodgers, although again, it's not pretty to the eye, for a 5th starter for the Dodgers, if you just don't even look at all the underlying metrics if you just look at the amount of runs and innings that this guy is giving the Dodgers out of the 5th spot, it's certainly been acceptable to this point from a results perspective. So James Paxton, his velo is good, control was not. He was only 55% throwing strikes with his 4-seam fastball, and then only 30% with his knuckle curve. And he didn't land any of his other pitches for a strike. So basically, he was limited to 1 pitch, and he was only throwing that 1 pitch a little bit above 50% in the strike zone, and then an occasional curveball that he landed about a third of the time. But other than that, that was it. I mean, it's kind of like at that point, it's the high school philosophy to where coaches are literally just saying, hey, just throw strikes, right? I mean, there's no like intricate game plan for James Paxton right now. It's just literally from pitch to pitch, just throw a strike, play the odds, let the other team's hitter get out 7 out of 10 times against something that is in the strike zone, which is what even great hitters do. So it's just it's one of those deals to where right now it's an enigma. But you would have to think, again, it would have to get better for him to have continued success, because eventually you would think the odds would catch up. And these, when you're walking 4 guys, you would think that would turn into not only an outing that you're giving up more than 4 runs, but an outing that you're not going 5 innings. I still think the biggest part of that is the 5 innings. It's not the 6 that you would like out of the starter, and the Dodgers have gotten 5 innings back-to-back, but 5 innings is acceptable for your 5th starter. The 4 runs, again, that ERA in 5 innings is not great, but it's acceptable because it puts your team in position to win from a results perspective strictly. Definitely not a process-based observation there. Monday night was a great game. Again, you had as many walks as you did strikeouts, almost as many RBIs, and you had a great game plan to where you just grinded pitches, you swung at the right pitches, and then Tuesday night was the exact opposite. Isn't that baseball? I mean, you can literally come out one night and be great. The next night, you come out and it's like a totally different deal. And one of the greatest parts about this game is that you don't have to wait a whole long time. If there's something that you don't like about the way that you played on any given night, you don't have to wait. It's not like football where you got to wait around 5 or 6 days, or basketball a couple of days anyways. You get to get right back at it the next day, and that's what we get to do again tonight for Dodgers baseball in the rubber match against Arizona. So that's my show for the Los Angeles side, but stay tuned. Austin's going to join us on the other side, and we're going to take a trip down on the farm. All right, so we're going to start as we always do. Austin, welcome in. By the way, I know you're in Appleton, Wisconsin. Just got off the airplane, so you're excited to watch some Loons baseball that we're going to get to here in a minute. That's a great catch that you're seeing by Zaire Hope, by the way. But who you're seeing on the screen, I'm not sure that we have covered him on any Dodgers Daily Show yet. This is David Tiburcio, a really good young pitcher out of, I believe he's from New York. It's fastball that you're seeing here. It's actually a sinker, and it's 94-95, that pitch right there. His changeup, check this out. That changeup, that's actually a fastball, probably hit the top of the zone. He can touch about 95 from every now and then, but that changeup that you're getting ready to see here in just a minute, he is 90-91 on that changeup. Then he has also a slider that is 86-89. So, hey, this Rancho Cucamonga Quakes team, Austin, we talk about all the time. They have some of the most exciting young arms. Want to make right there, that's about a 94 at the top of the zone. There's that good slider we mentioned. That's about 86 miles an hour. Pulled it just a touch, but David Tiburcio, there, boy, look at that. That's actually a changeup right there. That's a good pitch. See that changeup there? That can go over 90 miles an hour. So another young arm in the Dodgers system with Rancho. There's another good changeup, David Tiburcio.
I think with David Tiburcio, first time actually being able to watch him in action with him being at the single A level, his performance last night absolutely deserved it. 5 strikeouts and 2 2/3 innings come out of relief in a very high scoring environment. He kind of settled down a little bit the offense of the Modesto Nuts. So we'll have to continue to keep an eye out for David Tiburcio as he continues to make progressions through the system.
So the next guy I want to talk about, sweet swinging catcher, Jesus Kise. Now, this is a guy who's bread and butter. Very similar setup to Will Smith. You know, Will Smith, when he was in college at Louisville, he was definitely a line drive hitter. He was kind of a right center guy, hit a bunch of low line drives. Then when he got with the Dodgers, they added a little bit of lift to his swing, so now he's hitting those same line drives, but they're also going in the air, right, which is the absolute best case scenario because now he's also hitting home runs. That's kind of the process for Jesus Kise. You can see a lot of Will Smith in that swing, and he gathers a bunch of hits to right center, the big part of the field, which is the middle of the field. I could show you just hit after hit of it right there. That is Jesus Kise at his best, just dumping it right there in the big part of the field. You say, well, he didn't hit it very hard. Yeah, but guess where he hit it, Austin? He hit it in center field, right center, which is the area of the field where there are the fewest amount of defenders, which is why you're going to get more hits in that area of the field. So he's great, right? So because of that, he lets the ball get a little bit deeper, so he's able to pick up spin like you saw on that hit right there. And he is a guy that, hey, he came over to the States a couple of years ago, super motivated, lost his dad in 2020 to COVID, and he has dedicated his entire career to him. And so obviously he was very close to his dad right there, stayed inside. Does that look like, let me back that up. Now you tell me, does this not look like Will Smith? I mean, that is Will Smith all over again right there. Trying to get the ball in the air using the minor league process to hit more fly balls so he can eventually hit more home runs. That's what the minor league process is for, but really like Jesus Kise. Hey, a guy that I should have covered a long time ago. He is in Bruce Kuntz's Dodgers top 30 prospects list, which, by the way, I talk about all the time. We like the MLB Pipeline because they do have a lot of connections to every single organization, and they do have a lot of connections, obviously, with the Dodgers. But in my opinion, if you're going to be religious to a top 30 prospects list, definitely follow Bruce Kuntz. He is dialed in with the organization. Plus, he sees these guys. He sees the everyday grind of him. So he's not just giving an evaluation on top-end talent. He's also giving an evaluation on what these guys can do on a daily grind basis as well. And Jedal Perez is in Bruce Kuntz's Dodgers top 30 prospects list for good reason. He's got good foot speed. It's not translating necessarily to stolen bases yet, but he has good foot speed, very short, compact type swing, but it packs a big punch. So Jedal Perez, he's one that you really need to put on your radar.
Hitting almost 325 with a 440 on base percentage of 581 slugging, with it, which equals to a OPS over 1,000, 1.021. It is absolutely incredible what he's able to do. He's able to hit for some power, as you've seen with his 4 home runs, with the 7 doubles. He's able to draw the walks. He has been an offensive force. And as you mentioned, there are some tools that aren't even tapped into yet. There's a lot of room to grow.
Those Jordans that he's wearing, man, those are sweet. Let me back that up and give you a good look. Hold on a second. Let me back it up. Just look at those right there, man. Aren't those sweet? Those are some sweet kicks right there, right? Those Air Jordans. So he obviously also has very good style as well. Hey, here's another guy that had 2 hits last night. My man, Kendall George from Atascocita, which is down there south of Texas, kind of the Galveston area. I can tell you that he's elite high school baseball. And then also he played on Team USA 18U. So, hey, a guy that they got out of high school, but a guy that came to them, although only out of high school, came to them with a lot of very high-level experience. Man, I hope they're okay with that right there. This hit right there. I hope that kind of the Brett Butler type player, if you will, for Dodgers fans that need a comp for the type of player that he could be. Of course, Brett Butler came through in a different generation of baseball. That right there. I hope they're okay with Kendall George just finding ways like you're seeing here of getting on base and using his speed. I hope they don't think, well, we need to make him hit home runs. We need to make him add power. We need to do all these. I hope they don't do that. Let him be who he is right now, and let him be that guy that just slaps the ball and gets on base and creates havoc. And we're going to move now to the high A Great Lakes level. Again, you have 4 affiliates. You also do have the complex. The lowest affiliate is Rancho Cucamonga. They call that single A. So if you get promoted from Rancho, you go to Great Lakes, which is who you're going to see tonight. I know you just landed in Appleton, Wisconsin, which is where the Loons are at right now. Noah Miller had another big game last night, and he has had a lot of big games lately. He is hitting the ball very well for the Great Lakes Loons. He went yard last night, and he has hits in 4 games in a row. Also his 2nd game in a row with a home run, and he has RBIs in 3 of his last 4 games, and has been on base in 12 of his last 13. So really a nice addition. The Dodgers got him over the offseason. Thought of really kind of as a defensive first guy, won the Gold Glove for all shortstops in the minor leagues last year, so you know he can really play defense. And now he's getting the Dodgers organization, getting that hitting lab, and all of a sudden now you're starting to hit home runs, right?
Absolutely. That apparently is the case with Noah Miller. So a little bit of backstory of what I did, and then we'll kind of relate this to Noah Miller in just a second. So obviously I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin, and actually the game started, I was on the plane in Chicago, hadn't even left, and landed in Appleton at about the 5th inning or so, got to the hotel, and I actually ran to the stadium to go watch the end of it and got to see Noah Miller. He had, I believe, an RBI base hit to extend the lead from 5-4 to 6-4. But there was a lot that happened with Noah Miller earlier in the game. You mentioned the home run. He had a couple of hits during the game yesterday. He's really been a great addition to this Loons team, not just defensively, but the bat is starting to come around too. And he just extends at bats, is able to draw a lot of walks, has been a really key contributor to this team. And for him to do it last night, returning back to his home state of Wisconsin, I know there were people there that were there specifically to watch him play and probably will be throughout the rest of this week. That is great to see for Noah Miller, that homecoming and that ability to perform in front of the people some of the people that you're really close to. So cool to see.
That is very cool to see. Another guy it's cool to see get going again, Jake Vogel. This is a guy that he was drafted out of Huntington Beach High School, so drafted as a high schooler. And really, to be honest with you, Austin just has not found his offensive stride. Mm-hmm. Just to be totally transparent about it, I don't mean that to throw shade or anything. Just hasn't found his offensive stride. But I assure you, the Dodgers, kind of like a Cody Hosey type guy, they are not going to give up on a guy that has the amount of dynamics that Jake Vogel has. For instance, okay, 2nd home run last night that you're seeing here. He has hits in 4 games in a row, and now he's scored in 5 of his last 9 games, and he's stolen a base in 2 games in a row. So when you have a guy like Jake Vogel that can hit a home run, steal a couple of bases, he obviously plays great defense because he's one of the fastest guys in the organization. You just play the waiting game, and hopefully throughout the minor leagues, a guy eventually figures out how to hit professional pitchers on a consistent basis, and that's kind of where we're at with Jake Vogel, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And he can have, as you saw, this was his first home run of the year in Lansing. You can see a little bit of that sneaky pop that Jake Vogel has. One, defense is not going to be a concern at all. He's going to be able to get to just about any single fly ball that is hit anywhere near him. And it's good to see him start to get a little bit of a swing back. We saw that towards the end of the series in Fort Wayne, as you can see right there. You can see he had a couple of hits late in that series, which might be an indication that he's starting to see the ball really well, which is great to see for Jake Vogel, who has struggled a little bit during the course of the season. And the home run that he had yesterday was the home run that gave the Loons the lead and ended up being the game-winning home run, turned it into a 3-4 deficit into a 5-4 lead. And that is great to see for Jake Vogel. That should be a confidence builder for him, as you're going to be able to watch his home run in just a second. This is still in there for Jake Vogel. Do not give up on him, because he can have power just like that in big time moments to give the Loons a lead against a very, very good Wisconsin Timber Rattlers team, which this could be a preview of the Midwest League Championship in 2024. That's how good both of these teams are. Jake Vogel is one of the main reasons why the Loons won yesterday.
Another guy that had a great outing last night. Had a chance to communicate with him a couple days ago. Actually refined his slider in the offseason with his dad. This is Chris Compos. And because of that, that's like matter of fact, when I messaged him, I'm like, hey, dude, are you throwing a cutter now? Because that slider's tight. That one right there. I mean, that looks like a cutter to me, right? And I was like, He's like, no, man, I just worked on it in the offseason with my dad, and it's feeling good right now. That slider right now is a great pitch for him. You can see the natural arm side movement. He grew up a shortstop, right? So anytime you grow up a shortstop, you're throwing from a million different arm angles. You're going to tend to have a little bit of arm side run to your ball because you're used to not throwing from directly over the top, right? So he gets natural arm side movement to go with that good tight slider you're seeing there. Super competitive, A-plus athlete. I mean, he was a shortstop at St. Mary's College. That's a great baseball program at the division. Look at that arm side run there. Chris Compos, another guy, don't tell him he can't. Very Gavin Stone-ish. I mean, this is like the younger version of Gavin Stone, right? Like a guy that people have always been telling his whole life, well, you're not big enough to do this. You're not big enough to do that. And he's just been basically, for lack of a better term, giving everybody who's told him that the you know what, right? The big old middle finger burger to all that, right? Okay, and he's just proved every single one of those guys wrong. So if you need a comp at the major league level as far as the type of arc and maybe even the type of pitcher that you're dealing with here, definitely would be a Gavin Stone type guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And what he's been able to do, similar to what Gavin Stone did throughout his course in the minor leagues, is put up zeros. And throughout to the season so far, with him in Great Lakes, he's pitched 9 innings, hasn't given up a single earned run. It's been absolutely phenomenal. He's kept hitters off balance. He's been able to generate swings and misses, and he has been a rock steady force within this Loons pitching staff. And to see this growth and development for him throughout the course of his minor leagues, you're absolutely right. Don't tell him that he can't do it, because he's going to go out there and absolutely do it.
Actually do, because he's going to prove you wrong, right? I mean, I'm just telling you, you tell him he can't do it, he is going to prove you wrong. Hey, here's a guy that we've covered, I think, maybe once. A young man that was drafted last summer out of Sacred Heart. And this is a guy that played shortstop for Sacred Heart. He can play second base. He can play center field, right field, left field. He can probably catch. He can probably pitch. He can probably drive the bus, mow the infield, fill up the Gatorade buckets. Hey, Sam Mongelli. Plus, by the way, he has a pit bull, which is really cool. Anybody who has a pit bull, I'm a friend of. I love pit bulls. We'll never not have one for the rest of our lives. So Sam Mongelli, a guy that's a really, really nice athlete that the Dodgers can just plug in wherever they want. He's a, John Fogerty, whenever he wrote that song, or at least he released that song, Center Field, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play. I don't care where it's at. That's Sam Mongelli.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we've seen him play all over the place. Sam Mongelli is a great athlete. He's got some speed to him as well. He's got a couple stolen bases throughout the course of this season. And what's been really cool about the development of him, especially over the past week and a half or so, has been his plate discipline. He's been able to generate a lot of walks and be able to get on base. And last night, it was about the ability to get base hits. He had 4 of them last night, went 4 for 4. It was really cool to see Sam Mongelli be able to generate some offense, drive in some runs. I know he had the double against Fort Wayne. I believe that was on Sunday. Seeing a little bit of extra base hit ability for Sam Mongelli. All of these skills are coming together, and especially when you have that versatility to play just about anywhere. I know he's played a lot of third base, but he can also play second base. He's played some of the outfield. He can play just about anywhere that you want him. That versatility is so incredibly valuable, especially when you have a player who can draw a lot of walks, which he has, especially recently. And when you can provide that base hits, extend innings, you want Sam Mongelli on your baseball team.
You definitely do. Hey, we're going to move now up to the AA level. The Maytag ran very efficient last night. He was in spin cycle. Matter of fact, he was actually in 2017 Iowa State Championship game mode last night. He's been in that mode all year long. Jack Dreyer still has yet to give up a run this year. And I say 2017 Iowa State Championship game mode because not only did his team win that game out of Johnston, Iowa, his dad, Steve Dreyer, by the way, pitched in the major leagues. So this is a guy that will pitch in the major leagues as long as he can stay healthy, something that has been tricky for him. He's had the Tommy Johns at Iowa and all that. But Maytag, Jack Dreyer, 2 innings last night, no runs. 3 strikeouts, just 1 walk, no hits. Has yet to give up a run this year in 12.2 outings or innings. That is 8 outings in total, and he's given up just 6 hits, and he has 17 strikeouts. So 2017 state championship game his senior year, he set an Iowa State record for the most amount of strikeouts of any pitcher in the history of Iowa for a single game in a state championship game. This is a dude that can do a Rubik's Cube in about 14 seconds. He could probably beat the lady in Queen's Gambit in chess. He is the most strategic player in the organization. Lots of uniqueness to him and lots of really good stuff. Jack Dreyer.
He's absolutely brilliant, and that's not just off the field where you can see it with the Rubik's Cube, you can see it with the chess, you can see it with everything. That is also on the pitching mound as well, and we're seeing that through the course of his AA. I thought the jump from high A to AA as the toughest transition in the minor leagues, which it absolutely is. Jack Dreyer is not making it look like it because he's going out there and absolutely dominating through the course of the 2024 campaign, picking up exactly where he left off in 2023 with High A Great Lakes. He is absolutely going out there, striking out what seems just about everybody, getting a lot of outs, doing all of the things to put himself in a position where you look at Jack Dreyer and you need him on your baseball team. You don't just want him because he puts out zeros almost and throughout the course of 24 every single time that he goes out there. Phenomenal pitcher, left-hander. If you want the Dodgers to have another high-leverage lefty reliever, you have one building, and he's coming up quick in AA Tulsa right now.
Yeah, him and Ronan Kopp both. Mm-hmm. Hey, and by the way, Justin Robleski, second outing in a row, just to be totally transparent, struggle to touch, which, in my opinion, hey, that's a great thing, man. You want to get all these struggles out at the lower levels, right? Jackson Ferris also started for Great Lakes. He struggled last night as well, finding the strike zone. But, hey, that's exactly what the minor leagues are. You want these guys to have outings that aren't perfect, which Justin Robleski, up until his last couple of outings for his last seems like 35 outings in a row, had been just close to perfect. He has just been so spot on. You want to see that because then you want to see the adjustments that a guy is going to have to make to, maybe get over some of those periods. That's exactly that's the whole process you want to see in the minor leagues. And then also another thing that you want to see is, how does a guy actually handle situations that aren't perfect for him, right? From a mental perspective. So you want to see that entire process from a guy. So, hey, not worried at all about Justin Robleski. Certainly not worried about Jackson Ferris. But it is interesting to see just the process of how all this happens.
Yeah, and this is something that happened at the beginning of the 2023 campaign for Justin Robleski. There was a couple of starts where it looked like he was struggling a little bit, gave up a couple of runs. I know there's that game in Fort Wayne that I went to early. Stick with the process and watch Justin Robleski go out there and perform, because he will do that in the future. Justin Robleski, phenomenal pitcher. Robo is going to go out there and he's going to figure it out, make those necessary adjustments from high A to double A. And when you look back, you're going to be glad that he went through that process and found ways to get hitters out, found ways to be innovative, and found that consistency needed to get to the AAA level.
Yeah, gave up 4 runs on 4 hits, had 4 strikeouts and a walk. So a little bit unlucky last night for him as well. Hey, Jesse Hahn pitched for AAA Oklahoma City as we move our way up to the highest level of the minor leagues, which would be AAA. But we're not going to talk about him because we are going to focus our entire AAA segment on a wonderful rehab outing last night for Walker Buehler. Hey, he was only 93, right? He only touched 93. But there's hit and sit numbers as far as velo. Hey, what number did you hit at the top end? And then what's your number that you sat at, meaning what were you consistently hitting? His hit and sit velos were the exact same last night. So that tells you right there, he's not trying to max out on velo to hit maybe a 96, which he's hit a 95 already this year. But what he's trying to do is just be very consistent and very smooth and be a guy that can duplicate what he's doing over and over and over and over. Obviously, he's doing that last night. In the outing that I saw before in Oklahoma City, I mentioned that the command wasn't there. I mean, it just wasn't. His control wasn't there either. He was struggling, first of all, to throw strikes, and then once he was throwing strikes, once he was in the zone, the command as far as locating inside the strike zone wasn't very good as either. And you could definitely see he didn't like the ABS system, the automatic balls and strikes, and he got frustrated a couple of times. Last night, Austin, that was it. His command was incredible. The control was incredible. Again, only the 93, but I'll say it again, his hit and sit numbers were identical. He was absolutely dotting up the strike zone. He was moving the ball. And by the way, that nice little cutter pitch that he's throwing right now, boy, that pitch last night was big time. I think when you're looking at, if you're the organization, you're looking at what are all the things that we need to see out of Walker Buehler to think that he needs to be brought back up to the major leagues. I will say I think they saw every single one of those benchmarks last night. I will be surprised. Of course, this organization, you never can tell with them. They have more transactions than any other organization, and they never cease to surprise me as far as the transactions they have on a daily basis. But I will be surprised if this is not his last minor league outing. I think he's done everything he needs to do at the minor league level. Now I think you let him have the adrenaline of the major league environment, see if that can bump him up to maybe a 94 or a 95. His spin got above 2,300 last night. His cutter was good. So I think, and the rest of the mix, his slider, knuckle curve, sinker, were all in zone as well. So he threw strikes with every single pitch that he has. I was very impressed with Walker Buehler.
This is what Dodgers fans have been waiting for. Walker Buehler to be able to come back, to have that consistent outing that you can say he looks like he's ready to come back to the major leagues. And I think that absolutely is the case with Walker Buehler, with his ability to generate outs. Even if the velo wasn't completely there last night, I think he's going to find innovative ways to be effective through the course of this 2024 campaign. And I think he's just about ready to make the jump from the rehab assignments that he has had to the major leagues. And that's going to be so incredibly exciting for Dodgers fans. He has been in the past a dominant force out of the pitching side, and especially entering a contract year for Walker Buehler. He's got to be itching to get back out to Dodger Stadium and just remind people how good of a pitcher that he is. That fire, that tenacity that he's going to bring is going to be so exciting for Dodgers fans, and especially with a lot of pitching injuries that have taken place, to get a guy back and healthy and in a Dodgers uniform, especially a guy like a Walker Buehler, man, how could you not be excited about that?
How can you not be excited about being in Appleton, Wisconsin, which is where you're at, and getting to see Great Lakes Loons baseball? There we are on the screen right there as we finish this thing up. Final thoughts over any of the action last night?
Yeah, it was some exciting action down at the farm system. Obviously, I only got to see a whole lot of, or a little bit of the Loons game yesterday when I ran from the hotel, which is about half a mile away from the stadium. There's a giant fence that was blocking the entrance to the stadium, so I had to find a way around the fence. It was a little bit of a mess getting over there, but I got to go and watch a little bit of the game. I'll be here for the next couple of days, which is really exciting. Haven't been to the stadium before, so someplace new to explore, and that's kind of what's exciting about the game of baseball is you can travel around, you can go to a whole bunch of different places and get different experiences, meet new people, and that is so cool to see. And it's really cool to see the action throughout the Dodgers system, to see some new players come up, step up, and perform, because there's a lot of talent in this system, a lot of which we've covered, a lot of which we'll have the chance to cover for the first time coming up. So be sure to tune in the future. Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network, and watch all of the different action throughout the system, because it is so cool to watch the growth and development that they have.
It absolutely is. So, hey, Austin, I want to thank you for tuning in all the way up in Wisconsin and then joining us and giving your great thoughts on all of the action down the farm. I want to thank all of you wonderful Dodgers dailies out there for tuning in. And until next time, go Dodgers. Have a little bit better game tonight against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hopefully the Bees. By the way, the guy that had to come get him was actually at a Little League game. They had to call him, and he had to go through traffic and come get all the Bees out. They had to evacuate everybody. So hopefully there's no bee delay tonight, and hopefully the Dodgers can do a little bit better than 1 RBI and 4 hits. I think they will. They've been playing great lately. So thank you for tuning in, and go Dodgers.